I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, August the 12th, brought to you in part by Noromycin by Norbrook. Noromycin 300 LA is your proven go-to antibiotic for seasonal diseases in cattle. It's a must-have in your pickup, your four-wheeler, or your saddlebag. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Fundamental bulls break out, and I tell you what, it's absolutely fundamental. I've been complaining about your live cattle CME futures contract the last couple of visits. I'm not going to complain about that because we've got fundamental news to talk about. Real stuff, things that make people get aggressive, things that make your market go up, and we've got tons of them, and they just really broke out here late in the week, and it is mid-August. And that's probably the biggest thing that makes me start to get bullish here, that it's happening in mid-August. This is usually the time of the year that the packers have the cattle feeders backed into a corner and your market is dropping like a rock. And so we were really short of market-ready cattle, especially the best grading kinds here a couple of months ago, and then we kind of came back a little bit, and then we thought, oh no, we were going to have an August like we're used to having. But now it is becoming very evident that we are getting short of cattle. Your northern plains feedlots are getting very short of cattle, almost green of market-ready cattle again, especially your top quality supplies. Those cattle that are grading the best. I tell you what, these packers got really spoilt during the pandemic whenever all of our cattle got backed up quite a bit, and those cattle were obese, they were inefficient, they were overdone, but they were grading their heads off. And your packers really decided that they liked those cattle. They were easy to sell. The product was easy to sell, and people wanted it. People were eating at home. For the most part, people know how to throw a steak on the grill rather than cook other things. And so it was kind of a good thing for that. But we're running out of them, guys. We've got lighter numbers of market-ready cattle, and we're even starting to see it in the southern plains a little bit. We're starting to see that we're not cramped up with market-ready fat cattle in the southern plains. So what happens? Packers are having to start to get more aggressive. We saw that. We saw that there was a lot more cattle traded on Wednesday night than what we thought. I told you guys that it just broke about 2 o'clock on Wednesday that they started selling a lot of cattle, and they sold a lot more cattle confirmed than what we know, with prices up to 149 FOB in your southern plains. And then on Thursday we saw your packers go pretty quickly after the board opened higher. Like I thought it could happen, but I didn't think they would go to 140 as quick as they did. They started out at 138. They started picking around or trying to cream them at 140, and then you can't really have different price levels in the southern plains. They all went to 140 pretty fast. So that is a game changer. Another thing that come out that you might think would be a bearish signal, but I perceive it to be a bullish signal, is that, and it wasn't well advertised, but JBS in Brazil, which they're huge in the beef. They're your world's biggest protein provider is JBS. Of course, they've come in here and become one of your big four, but they were big in Brazil before. But they have put workers in 7 of their Brazilian beef plants on vacation. They have shuttered those plants for a time here. And you think, oh no, that's not good, because we need smoke blowing out of all your packing plants, smokestacks, because we need to keep production up. Well, we have been getting a ton of imports from Brazil, and it is kind of tempered this market rally here, because they're not getting the best quotes of your long fed corn fed cattle that are going to grade high choice and prime and all that kind of stuff, but they're filling in some of that brush fed stuff, some of your ground beef and things like that. Of course, they come in here, they do one little thing to process them, and then they can call it USA beef. which is not right. You and I both know it. We need to get truth and labeling passed. There's so many things we need to get done. We need to fix this live cattle contract on the CME. We need to get your Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act passed. We need to get truth and labeling passed. We need to do a lot of things here, and we're getting to where we have a small window to get those things done. But and then also now that the guys that are getting behind it pushing, and pretty much the whole industry has been, well, now that your price is getting up, then they don't get near as excited about it, and we can't do that, guys. It's going to come back. Hard times are going to be here again, but we are going to have some really good times here for quite a while. I would say at least 2 years and maybe 3, but times are going to be good. But you know, like I said, they're not going to be processing as much of that cheap beef in Brazil. They may not have as much of it to send over here. Now, you get in Brazil, they can export beef products out of Brazil to China. You know, we don't get to do that. Now, some of our stuff gets to China, but it has to make a long loop around before it actually gets there, and then we don't even know that it did for sure. But I know people that send, you know, fat cattle. They don't take a lot of fat cattle in Mexico, but they get them and they end up in China. But Brazil can openly send stuff to China. Their old cows don't go and take a tour of Taiwan and piss China off. You know, that could be one of the things, but our old cows do that. But JBS is kind of falling on hard times here. We ought to feel really bad for them. Their second quarter worldwide profits were down 10%. They didn't lose 10%. Their profits were just down 10% to only $766 million for the second quarter, and if you see them, you know, you might spot them a 5 or pick up their lunch tab or something like that. But what else is going on in the country? We've seen U.S. Cattlemen's Association, who y'all know by now that I support, and I'm a member and I'm active on their marketing committee. They hosted CFTC chairman in Billings, Montana on Thursday. The CFTC, Commodity Futures Trading Corporation, they kind of oversee your CME, and so, you know, they had somebody that's a chairman there that came in, wanted to listen to their complaints, wanted to understand what they think will help fix that contract, because it's so broken right now. Of course, we're not even complaining about that like we were 2 days ago, because it's been up over $1 for the last 2 days, and we suddenly don't think it's an issue anymore, but it is a huge, huge issue. Some other news that I saw that you guys may not have seen, but producer-owned beef, that's one of the upstart plants that we've been talking about coming on. We got one in North Platte, we got one in the St. Louis area, but this producer-owned beef plant that they're going to be putting in Amarillo, Texas, and it is going to happen. They've got many investors there in the cattle feeding business, and they got deep pockets, and they can handle it. They can handle the losses, they can handle the expense, and now it's going to be a whole lot easier because Texas Enterprise Fund has given them $12.25 million to help finance the building of that plant. It's looking at like a 3,000 head a day plant, a big time plant, but you know, $12.25 million from the Texas Enterprise Fund there, that is going to help. And then they got another $11.1 million in incentives from Amarillo, Texas, to put that plant in. So, you know, they're getting a head start here. Now, are those going to be a packing plant that's going to go out there and bid on cash cattle every week? No, you know better than that. No, it's all in the name, producer-owned beef. Now, the guys that are putting up the money to get this thing built, they're going to be harvesting their cattle in there, but it's going to take more cattle off the market, and so, you know, it's going to be a good thing. But we see them, and they're going to happen, guys. that's absolutely going to happen. So we can quit worrying about whether they've got enough funding or whether or not they're going to do it. Yeah, they understand. They're paying attention. They know that the numbers of cattle are down right now, but they're looking down the road at some of these profits like we're seeing the Big Four had. Let's talk about your board for Thursday. August live cattle futures are up $1.40 at 140.60. Now that's getting very, very close, within pennies of what your weighted average on live steers was last week in your 5-area feeding region. Now it took all till nearly the end of this week to get it there, but that's what it is. Of course, it's going to be a whole lot higher than that at the end of this week. That'll post for next week, and so it'll be behind again. And I'm not saying that your spot live cattle futures market is caught up with the trade, but it's come up some. It's at least trading about the same level as the Southern Plains right now. So October live cattle futures up 62 cents at 145.10. Back months on live cattle up 7 cents to up 37 cents. So trading in a fairly narrow range, but on the positive side. Feeder cattle were lower because corn was up again. August feeder cattle down 72 cents at 179.95, and our index levels have almost caught your spot August feeder cattle contract. Of course, it's cash settled, and we know that it's going to meet up at the end of the month here. It will meet up with what your CME cash feeder cattle index is, because that's how cash settlement works. But you can't deliver the product. We've been saying that we may need to do something like that with the live cattle contract if we don't get it to converge. That'll take the teeth out of it, and then there won't be as many people playing it, which your feeder cattle contract is way, way smaller than your live cattle contract. September down 40 cents on feeder cattle at 184.60. Back months on feeder cattle down a dime to down 37 cents. So very tight range there also, but on the downer side. Corn was up 9 1/4 cent, settling regular trading at 627 3/4. Beans up 20 3/4 cent at 14.48 1/2 cent a bushel. Fat cattle trade. And I didn't report very many confirmed sales to you yesterday because that's reported to USDA where I get it. And in Iowa and Nebraska on Wednesday, we only had 6,600 head apiece confirmed. But I told you that it sounded and felt like that they had a lot more sales than that after hours or late on Wednesday afternoon and into the evening there on Wednesday. And so we didn't see a whole lot of trade on Thursday, but we saw some more of that same trade that we saw late Wednesday, and it was a lot higher. Iowa, Wednesday ended up having 26,500 head confirmed sales, 20,000 more than I gave you on our last visit. But on Thursday, they had another 3,000 head confirmed, over 30,000 head for the week, more volume, higher market. Higher market, more volume. I don't know. NCBA will disagree with me, but that's one reason I push that's Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. The more negotiated trade you have, the better chance you have at having a positive market. Iowa had confirmed sales on Thursday of 145 to 149. That's basically what they were doing on Wednesday afternoon. Dress sales from 229 all the way up to 236. So we're gaining several dollars on both live and dress sales. Nebraska had 28,300 on Wednesday. I only gave you 6,600 of those because that's all they had at the time. But then another 1,600 on Thursday, 30,400 head for the week so far. Very robust trade, higher market. Those two things go hand in hand, guys. But 144 to 147, live sales, dress sales 229 to 232. Kansas, now they didn't have any sales hardly at all on Wednesday, neither did Texas. But that started happening on Thursday morning when the board opened higher, and then they went to 140, which I thought that 138 was the best that they could hope for. But like I said, just so much bullishness surrounding the markets on Thursday. 13,700 head confirmed on Thursday, a little over 14,000 for the week, which is still not enough for them, but it's better than they had. But 138 to mostly 140. Like I told you, they started out at 138, but quickly went to 140. Few dress sales in the northern Kansas parts at 229. Texas hadn't had any cattle sale until Thursday morning. 6,200 head confirmed for Thursday. Same deal as Kansas, 138 to mostly 140. We only had a couple of deliveries tendered. It costs about $1.50 to $2 a hundred to deliver cattle. So whenever your spot live cattle futures in August and you can deliver on that is set at 140.60. That 60 cents does not entice cattle feeders to deliver cattle there. You know, it's got to be like I said, $1.50 or $2 better, unless you just absolutely can't sell your cattle, and then you might take something like that. But box beef cutout values were kind of mixed on Thursday. Choice cuts 263.10 down 13 cents. Selects up 38 cents at 237.46. Your slaughter 496,000 through Thursday. That's 1,000 less than a good week last week. 33,000 more than the same week a year ago. That is big. 33,000 head more cattle harvested this week up through Thursday than the same week a year ago, and there was no holiday or anything going on with that. Then we got our actual slaughter information that came back for 2 weeks ago for the week ending July the 30th, and we had average dressed steer carcass weights at 894 pounds, up 1 pound, but I don't care. That's just on your steers, and the heck of it is we're killing more does than we are bucks. We've done it now for the second week in a row, and that is significant because it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened since way back in the 1980s, guys. But we again, that week coming in from July the 30th, there was more females slaughtered, including cows and heifers, than there was males, and that's significant. And like I give it to you in a hunter's type of a jargon there, because you know whenever they're shooting does, they're wanting to control the population, because the population drops pretty fast. Whenever they're wanting to preserve populations, they're just shooting bucks. Talk about what else is going on. How about Western Video Market? WVM cattle right there. That is your premier video market for the Western United States. They're having another one of their big summer videos coming up here on Monday and Tuesday. So you need to get in and then check out their catalogs. You can go into WVMcattle.com. You can go in there and look through those cattle, look through the catalog on there. There's going to be some yearlings on there, some late summer and fall yearlings. A lot of them will be closer to the central part of the United States than you think. There'll be some in there from Wyoming, be some in there from Nebraska, places like that have a lot of value to them. And then they are going to have a ton of fancy Western calves for fall delivery there. But that sale is August the 15th and 16th, Monday and Tuesday, from Cheyenne, Wyoming at Little America. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market on Thursday. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Thursday settled at 178.50, up almost $2 right there just from Wednesday's close. So yeah, we had some pretty hot sales on Thursday, because that includes all of Thursday's sales. It's that's always up to date and current. Your real-time index, it's put together automated, and it doesn't have a conscience or a time clock that it worries about, which is the best thing about it. Let's talk about your big sales on Thursday. Winter livestock in Pratt, Kansas, 3,700 head. Like I've said many times, your market reporting in Kansas is very poor. It was hard to make heads or tails out of the trend that they put on it with the federal state market report, but basically your steers were higher and your heifers were lower. But stick out sale in Pratt, 68 head of 819 pound steers at 194. And you think, oh my gosh, why'd you give that to me already? We usually save that for your top quote of the day. I got better quotes than that, guys. But 819 pound load of steers at 194 in Pratt, Kansas. Wow. How about Farmers and Ranchers livestock in Salina, Kansas? 3,900 head there, and the markets were all higher from steady to just a little bit to as much as $10 higher. Really good market there. The stickout sale in Salina was 60 head of thin flesh steers, weighed 720 at $200.25. Wow. Yeah, that's big time. So now we've got 7-weight steers. Of course, they're yearlings, but I assume by this fall we'll have 7-weight steer calves bringing $2 a pound. Now it's getting back like it was in 2014. How about another big sale in Kansas on Thursday? They've been having big sales right through here. They're a seasonal type sale. Met their owner there last week at Dodge City at the Cattleman's U event. But El Dorado Livestock in El Dorado, Kansas, 3,400 head for them. Like I said, they had 3,600 last week, so you can look at this automated marker report from Cattle Market Central. Of course, El Dorado is not reported by any other service, but they are reported here on the Feeder Flash and Cattle Market Central. You can look at those quotes. You can see those trends over on the right, and they are all higher than last week. Those are weighted averages compared to the same weighted averages last week, and they're all higher, and pretty impressive market there. How about some individual quotes? How about Paris Stockyards in Paris, Kentucky? Been having a hard time getting their market to feed into our system, but well, we've got the clerks there to tweak a little bit the way that they put those in, and now here we got them. Paris Stockyards, Paris, Kentucky sells 62 head, 753 pound steers at $190.30 in the ring in Paris, Kentucky. Put wheels under those guys. How about your Zoetis stickout sale of the day? Mitchell Livestock in Mitchell, South Dakota. I mean, impressive quotes. They had on their 8-weight steers, 487 head of them, average 865 at $179.40 on the weighted average of all of those 8-weight steers. They had a big run of 8-weight heifers, 1,080 head of 8-weight heifers, averaged 856 at $165.40. But then where they really had their big run was on big steers weighing over 1,000 pounds. They had 13 loads of steers that weighed over 1,000 pounds. And those 13 loads bring from $166.50 to $170.85, weighing over a grand, guys. Big time quotes there. And of course, Mitchell also had our Macrocin No BS top quote for the day. Mitchell, South Dakota, 118 steers, weighed 982 at $184.10. That's your Feeder Flash for Friday.